Before I entered college, I just felt like anything that could be or could exist already did exist, and that everything was already fixed and fine. But obviously, I know now that isn't true, and it just takes time and willingness to see that anything that you want to change can happen, and that there are people out there who think similar to you, and you're not alone. And AHEC really does create that sense of community, and makes it feel like you're impossible to stop. You can do anything that you set your mind to. My name is Jade Spanton. I just graduated from Idaho State University this May in 2022. I graduated with my associates in physical therapist assistant and my bachelor's in health science, and I'm also an AHEC 2022 cohort graduate. Today I'm going to be presenting my final project I did for AHEC Scholars. It's about the CommuniVax project that was conducted, how it relates to the social determinants of health, and how all of these things, including AHEC Scholars, interact and why we should care about them. To start, we need to understand what AHEC Scholars is. If you've never heard of it, AHEC stands for Area Health Education Center, and essentially it is a program that is trying to help create better access and resources for rural and underserved communities in Idaho. And it's doing this by educating students while they're in college pursuing healthcare degrees to better prepare them to treat this specific population. It's a 2-year program. You get hands-on experience. You get to go to like classes and meet other people, like other students from other disciplines. And a lot of what AHEC focuses on is the social determinants of health. According to healthy.gov, the social determinants of health are the conditions in the environments where people are born, live, learn, work, play, worship, and age that affect a wide range of health, functioning, and quality of life outcomes and risks. But essentially, it's just the things that impact the way we live grouped into these 5 domains. So we've got economic stability, educational access and quality, healthcare access and quality, the built environment, and then the social and community context. So now that we have an idea of what the social determinants of health are, we need to understand what the CommuniVax project was. So it was a research project in Idaho that was focused on the rural community of Hispanic population specifically. And the goals were to better understand the cultural acceptability of the COVID-19 vaccine within the population and what factors impacted its acceptance or lack thereof. It was to better understand people's willingness to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. And then it was also to take all this knowledge we learned from this project and be better prepared to treat this community and similar communities in the future as healthcare providers. The CommuniVax project strived to better understand how the various social determinants of health that we just learned about have facilitated or inhibited access and willingness to be vaccinated. Idaho was one of 5 states involved in this project. Why should we care about the social determinants of health and CommuniVax? Going into those 5 domains that I just talked about, a little bit more detail and some examples. When we're talking about economic stability during CommuniVax, we were talking about if people have financial access to the vaccine, and if they don't, do they know that there are free options available to them? Educational access and quality, do they understand why vaccines are helpful in general and the risks and benefits involved before they make their decisions? Healthcare access and quality, can people physically get to a clinic or provider who is providing these free vaccines, and can they work with their hours? So many little things that you have to think about can all be shoved into these domains. So it's very complex. Next, we have the built environment. Do they have opportunity and the resources for transportation to access the vaccines? So along with that is kind of physically getting there, because like the roads need to be up to maintenance, and like there needs to be people removing snow off the roads if they have to drive an hour to get these vaccines. And then lastly, the social and community contact. Do they feel like getting the vaccine is beneficial for their health and the ones they love? And do the people around them that they look up to feel like the vaccine is important? And this really plays into the cultural piece of it as well. Questions that we were thinking of to further the discussion in CommuniVax were ones like, so how can healthcare providers make this population aware of the availability, importance, and access to the vaccine? What about the barriers that people face? A lot of people in this area who are Hispanic spoke only Spanish, so that made it really difficult to get all the information that we were trying to convey to them. And then how can we create better long-term access for this population now, in the future, 10 years from now? All of this is really important so that if something similar to COVID-19 hit again, we'd be better prepared. Now that I've given you all those examples and the questions that we are trying to address within CommuniVax, I'm going to explain how being an AHEC scholar takes it a step further. AHEC scholars understand all of these things already. We're already introduced to a lot of the topics that I just talked to you about. If something was too far away to access, people might wonder, okay, how do we get people to that? Where AHEC scholars are thinking, how can we get more healthcare providers to them? How can we move them in? And not just doctors, all kinds of healthcare providers, especially mental health and dental. There's such a shortage in these areas in Idaho. We would think of things like, how can we add better facilities to the area that allow for private and discrete healthcare services? Kind of referring to how some people don't want to ask for help because, especially in smaller towns, they're worried about being judged and people looking down on them for going and getting help. So being able to make these facilities discreet and maybe providing multiple services, that way people don't know what someone's going in there to receive. All those little things will make it so that it's more successful overall for these communities. We really are trying to bring it down to, okay, this is what is happening on a fundamental level, and this is what we can do to change it, to make it better. Now, how do we do it? So I got to interview two really great people during my project. They gave opinions, and their personal opinions and their experiences working for CommuniVax. They reported that people not receiving accurate information or knowing where to find it, or people not being able to take time off work because they needed the money so badly, were the main reasons that they were not receiving the vaccine. Some other things they are worried about was fear as well. And then some solutions that they both chatted to me about were that having the local government reach out to these areas being overlooked and being like, hey, I know you're here and it's okay, starting to gain some trust with them by making more resources accessible. That could make strides in people's willingness to trust the government. And then getting more healthcare providers in the area like I talked about before. Cultural bias, language barriers, and I mean, think about it, you can easily see how this could be a barrier. It's hard to get that same genuine, intimate connection with someone when you're trying to explain something like this, like vaccines, that can be scary when you don't know what's going on. being able to interact with more than just other healthcare providers, because there's clearly a lack in these areas or we wouldn't be doing the research there. But like being able to think, okay, who is someone that this community looks up to, and can we see if they share our standpoint on vaccinations? And if they do, would they be willing to communicate or educate them about this a little bit more so that they might be more willing to come in and get vaccinated? Why should you be an AHEC scholar? First of all, it helps you be more prepared to assist in research like Communivax. And I felt so much more prepared to take on those bigger questions that Communivax was asking us, and to really think about it and get creative with the types of solutions that we could find. So you'd get valuable in-class lessons and awareness about fundamental topics that impact underserved populations. You're required to experience working with underserved populations to better understand the disparities that they're facing. You get to gain an appreciation for rural communities and learn how to better serve them in the future. You learn about the problems that they're currently facing and how you can eliminate those problems during your time working as a healthcare provider, and potentially teaching that to the people who come after you. So it helps you create relationships with other healthcare professionals who share the same intentions and desires to make healthcare accessible to all. This was probably the most amazing piece of it, getting to hear how we all took on different perspectives on the same issue. And no one was ever wrong, but we all just kind of collaborated and were able to come up with the best answer or the best solution for things, because we were all willing to share and we had our different perspectives. It made it so much more rich. When people who have the same intentions and desires come together, anything is possible. My experience with having a transgender patient was probably the one that resounded with me the most. I was able to recognize how I was feeling and what I was thinking, and I had been educated on how to properly address individuals who were transgender. And so I felt a lot more confident being able to treat them than I think I would have if I hadn't gotten educated like I did through AHEC Scholars. There's a whole, cultural bias, stigmas, just creating more awareness about yourself and understanding like terms to use and all kinds of good information just to have, because you will see anyone and everyone when you work in a healthcare field. I think that these programs helped me understand the multifaceted nature of healthcare, that it takes more than one person to be successful. And in your studies, you learn only about what you do and not what about other people do. The programs really helped open my eyes to other programs and what they can do as well. It's just given me so much confidence in who I am and the things that I want to do. I obviously want to work in a rural area eventually, be a great team player, and just work at the top of my license. I guess just not settle for less, because your patients deserve only the best. My biggest thing I'll take is my confidence. I just feel ready. I feel knowledgeable. I feel like I know what I need to know, and I just need to get out there and do it. Thank you so much to the Idaho Communivax team, the AHEC Scholars, Southeast Idaho specifically. Thank you guys so much for providing these amazing opportunities for me. I've grown so much as a person